I figure, I keep saying I want to get my 70 running, but we've never really talked about this thing. Let's talk about it. And if we have, I can't find it. I didn't look real hard, but I remember shooting a bunch of stuff and thinking it wasn't very good, so I deleted all of it. So, the car is a 1970. See, 2 headlights, no 4. 1970 fastback. It is not a Boss 302 car. It's not. It had a 2-barrel 302 in it when we got it. C4 and an 8-inch rear end and no options. None. Made a good hot rod that way. The fellow we got it from got the Boss 302 stripes at a swap meet and put them on the car because he thought it made it look cool. And it kind of does. So part of the reason I want to get this thing running, so my senior year in high school, my grandparents bought me this car as a birthday, Christmas, graduation present. My birthday was in fall before Christmas of my senior year. So it was 18th birthday, Christmas, and graduation present. I was going to graduate. I mean, unless I did something stupid like I got kicked out of school, but I wasn't that much of a troublemaker. I just a little bit of a troublemaker. And even then, that was probably a little bit. But anyway, so they bought me this car. My grandfather was a car guy. My dad was a car guy. So of course, I was doomed. I was going to never have any money ever again. So my grandparents bought me this car. My grandparents are no longer with us. My father is no longer with us, and he did a little work on it too when we put the first motor in it. This was my first race car. First thing I did with my graduation money, of course, was I bought a 4-barrel intake, a mild cam, and a 4-barrel for it. It already had headers on it, so I didn't need to do that. Put that in there, and it ran okay. You know, it wasn't a rocket ship. And then I bought a 9-inch rear end from a buddy of mine. And we bought a 411 gear and a Detroit locker and put that in the car. My dumbass bought a 31 spline Detroit locker, and then I had to buy new axles. But now it's got a 31 spline rear end in it. It's got a 31 spline 9-inch in it. So it's pretty stout. That 411 gear really woke that little 302 up. About my second night out with the 411 gear in the car, I led the police on a high-speed pursuit and lost my license. Yeah, you know, like I said, just a little bit of a troublemaker. I was already graduated at that point, so it didn't matter. But that's getting sidetracked. My grandparents got me this car. Neither one of them are still with us anymore. Hell, they'd be 100 and 101 years old at this point. Maybe 102. So it's not surprising. The car has not been on the road since 2000 I think 2000. I think that was the last time I drove it. Kaylin raced it for a few years before her father passed away, and we got his race car out of that deal. So when I moved here, her brother had built a motor for her, and he'd actually put it in the Ranchero over there. Well, the floors on that thing were kind of rusty, and I don't think he was real keen on that idea because it wasn't going to be real good on it. So I moved here and brought this car down here, and you know, and he looked at it and he was like, "Well, what's that thing need to run?" And I was like, "Motor and transmission." And that's it. I mean, it just needed a motor and transmission. I'd pulled the motor out to put it in my race car at one point, and you know, so he took the motor that he'd built for her. He built a transmission. He built a C4 with manual valve body and some decent little parts inside it, and we dropped it in here. And she raced it for several years. Then when the motor in the convertible got so bad it was no longer feasible to try and keep it running on the road. Hell, I couldn't even get it to start anymore. And she'd got her race car. Well, we needed to take the motor out of that, and because it was hers, and put it in the convertible. So that's what we did. Detuned it a little bit, and took the solid cam out of it, and took the Victor Jr. intake off of it, and so now it's over there in the convertible. So now we're back to, we need a motor. To drive it on the street, we will need to change the gear because it's got a 471 in it and a spool. Yeah, we took the 411 out. And I'll need to take the 4800 stall converter out of it and put like a 3000 in it. The car's in pretty good shape overall. I mean, it's got some Bondo in it, but the front fenders are really good. This door is good. The driver's side door is not. The trunk lid's in really bad shape. No, we need to do something different about that. So the battery tray over here is all rusted out. We got a new one for it. I mean, it's got a 4-core radiator in it, which I put in it after we put the Cleveland in the car. It's got frame ties in it, weld in. We homemade weld in frame ties. That is a real Boss 429 hood scoop. It's got the flapper in it. It's not some cheap reproduction. Well, it might be a reproduction, but it was a real early reproduction. But it's starting to delaminate a little bit. Let's see. The interior's all there, although right now the car has turned into a storage compartment, as you can see. The seat's got a little normal wear and tear on the driver's seat, mildew on this seat, bunch of crap in the back seat, bunch of crap in the front seat. We got to put the console back together because, well, when we were trying to get the, well, hell, it's got keys in it. Why did I do that? I better take them in the house. Somebody might fire it up and drive away with it. But I mean, hell. The paint on it is way too thick. So I actually started taking some of the paint off of the roof. I mean, that's all paint. So the reason I started to take it off the roof is, I don't know if you can see it here or not, but see how cracked it is? There was so much paint on the car that it started to, as the paint continued to shrink up, it started to crack, and it's needing some serious attention. The car was originally yellow, verified by the fact the floorboards are yellow under the carpet. And then the original owner, or might not be the original owner, but the guy we got it from, the fella that he bought the car from, didn't like it yellow, so he painted it white. Realized right away he didn't like it white, so they painted it red. Well, it was just plain red, and he didn't like it red. So then they painted it this heavy metal flake, late 70s, early 80s bass boat looking paint. And they put a bunch of it on there and then shot a bunch of clear on top of it. And they never stripped any paint off of it. I've got a picture somewhere, I don't know if I can find it or not, where I took a piece of paint, a flake of paint off of the roof, and put it on the calipers, and it was like, I don't remember, 80 thousandths thick or something. It was ridiculous. Hell, we take all the paint off the car, it'll probably lighten it up 150 pounds. But because of that, the paint looks really bad now. But you know what? I don't care. I still want to drive it. So there's the story of the 70. I raced it for 1 year. We decided it was probably a little rough on it, taking it to the racetrack every weekend. So we wanted to make something a little more of a dedicated race car. And then we found the Granada. And that's a whole nother story. But then this thing bounced around, having motors and not having motors, and being on the street and not being on the street. And well, I just want to get it back to driving it. I mean, it's got truck drum brakes on the back. It's got factory drums on the front, but we redid all of the brakes on it. We redid all the front suspension on the car when we got it because it was all wore out. I mean, all of it. Center link, tie rod ends, ball joints, the upper A-arm rods that the A-arms sit on, the idler arm, everything. All of the front suspension was redone on this car. So it drives pretty good for, you know, a 55-year-old car without power steering. But there's the story on the 70 and why I want to get it back on the road. You know, It's got some sentimental value. It'll never go anywhere, and I want to drive it. It might not be the fastest thing on the road. I told one of the guys at work, I said it won't be the fastest car in the parking lot. It won't be the newest. It won't be the most expensive. But it'll damn sure be the coolest. Yep.